Today I want to talk to you guys about the Surf Your Watershed lab. So I have the course view up as a student, and I'll show you how I would get to it. There's multiple ways to get to it. You can go to the course material, but honestly I think it's easier to go this way. So this is for the water unit, so I'm going to click on this button right here. It's going to take me here, and then the Surf Your Watershed lab. Now you'll notice I've got some instructions here. And the reason I have these instructions here is because the instructions on the handout are a little outdated. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can have the lab handout on one, and then we can use the website for the other. So there's two parts to this lab. This first part, you're going to actually do a lab like at your house, where you need like a paint tray and some newspaper and spray bottle, some food coloring, permanent markers, that kind of stuff. And it tells you exactly how to set that up. It wants you to look for streams or rivers, ponds and lakes, any drainage divides, if rain's going from one side to the other. And then you'll finish that. When you finish that, then you're going to do this online part, and this is the part that I don't think these notes are very easy. I tried to do it last year and I thought they were pretty difficult. So here's what I would recommend. Instead of doing this, I would go over here and I would find your HUCK code here. Okay, so you can kind of look, you can kind of guess like the part of the state that you live in. We live kind of up here-ish, and then we live, I think that's like linear right there, so we live right about here. You may have to do it a couple times because, like, see, it looks like I picked the wrong one. So see how this one goes up and around. So here's this one, and then see how there's like Lake Linear right there. So I'll click that one. I'm probably in this one, the Upper Chattahoochee. Okay, so this is about where I'm located in Forsyth County right here. So when you click this, you can click additional. This right here is your HUCK code, this 03130001. But you can click this additional information. It says it should show it to you there. Okay, so the Upper Chattahoochee, it shows that there, so we can click that. And this should give us just some extra information about that. Okay, so you'll want to write your HUCK code somewhere here on your paper. Let me see if I can download it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do to be able to kind of make notations on this lab. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to print and we're going to save it to Google Drive. Okay. When we do that, then we can go to Google Drive. And it'll show our lab, and then we can add comments. It's not the best option, but at least we can kind of save our HUCK code and that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go over here, and our HUCK code was 0313000, and you might have a different HUCK code, and that's okay. Okay. And let's see what's next. Okay, I'm going to switch these because I like having them this way. Uh-oh. Okay, our HUCK goes here. Okay. So once we found the HUCK code, we're going to Google whatever our HUCK code is, Scorecard. Okay, so for example, it shows that this was my HUCK code, so I'm going to Google this. Okay. So we'll Google that. and you should get a link. It's going to show you get a link that's like scorecard.goodguide.com, something like that. Okay. Oh, it shows my page here, but let's try this. See this? There's two of them. They're basically the same thing. Let's see which one is closer. Environmental releases. Okay, so we'll check causes. Okay, so when we check on the score code, we could see all the different pathogens that could be, or impairments that could be in the water. Okay, so you want to pick 3 of these. Okay, so for example, again, this is, I'll try and add a document like this to the, a better one with the tables and stuff for you guys to see in the links in the course. So I could pick like pathogens. It could be that one. And then my next one could be metals. Actually, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to make a document, and then we'll go from there, because I think it'll be easier for you guys if we're all working with the same thing. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken that information from the PDF and I put it in a Word document for you guys, and I'll link to this in the user links, and I'll also have it as an attachment in the synchronous session. So I have the original directions here that you can use, and then also the directions I have, and it shows that your site should look something like this, and then it says complete this data table below. So that's what we're going to try and do now. Okay, so I'm just going to pick the first 3 pollutants. So I'm going to pick pathogens, metals, and fish consumption advisory. Okay, and then I can click on this, and it's showing that this is waterborne bacteria, things like that. It says it's impossible to test everything, but if they have indicator bacteria, they suggest that maybe more important bacteria are might be found. I honestly have had trouble of finding this normal units one. So what I'm going to put is I'm going to put NA right here. So if you're watching this video and you see this video, you can put NA on yours. If you don't watch the video, then I guess you'll just have to find the answer. And then the sources of pollutants. So you can see here, it says these pollutants may enter waters through a number of routes, including, okay, they say sewage. They say stormwater drains, septic systems, runoff from livestock, and sewage from boats. Okay, so I'm going to call this land sewage, so we know the difference between the two. Okay, and I'm going to move this over a little bit. And then when it says the consequences of the pollutant, you can talk about that. Okay, so what are some consequences of pathogens in the water? And this will be something that you'll put, and I'm not going to tell you this because I want you to use your knowledge of environmental science to figure this out. Okay, so okay, I'm not going to answer this part for you. Okay, so if you write that on yours, that's on you, okay? The next one is metals. Okay, so we can look at metals. It says metals occur naturally in the environment by human activities, such as industrial processes and mining. So we can write that. Okay, and then again, you'll use your knowledge of environmental science to answer this part. Okay, And the last one that I put was fish consumption advisory. This is saying health risks of contaminated fish and wildlife. High concentrations of chemical contaminants have been found. And include recommended limits. So I'm just going to copy that part because it's important, but I'm going to put a parentheses. Do you see how I did that there? And then I'm going to put a star. And I'm going to say it's from this website. Do you see how I cited that? That means it is not considered plagiarism because I cited that. Okay, you have to cite something like that if you don't want to be considered plagiarizing from copying and pasting something. Okay, and then again, you can use your in knowledge of environmental science to see any consequences of a fish consumption advisory in the waters. Okay, the next part is going here. Honestly, I've never been to this website, so let's see what it says. Here's the bonus. Okay, and it says explore your watershed in Google Earth. If you don't have Google Earth installed, you can download it and install the free program, and then here it gives you a link to the site. And then you'll launch Google Earth, and then in the menu panel you can pick layers, and then it shows you how to do it, and then you'll download your outlines of your watershed. Okay, and you'll explore your watershed. Okay, so if you want to get points for this, you'll need to answer the stop and think questions. Okay, and it even shows you how to take screenshots and put them in a word processing document. Okay. Okay. Now, the most that we can give you for bonus on an assignment is 10% of the assignment grade. So you can get up to 10 points for doing this bonus. Okay, so you would get like 110% on your lab. Or if you miss some things, like say you got a 90, then you would get 100. Okay, but you must answer the stop and think questions to earn the bonus points. And then these are the analysis questions that you need to answer in the analysis section of your lab report. This lab requires a lab report. Okay, so you're going to want to include your information from that first part where you actually conducted the lab, some pictures in your data section for that part. And then you're also going to want to include this data table in your data section. You'll want to answer these analysis questions in your analysis section. You'll want to have a conclusion, and then after the conclusion, you'll have a bonus. Okay, so this is how it'll look. You'll have a title. You'll have your introduction. Okay, your materials, methods. Do not copy this straight from the site, the handout, or you'll lose points. Okay, your data section. This section is going to have, you'll have data collected from part 1, pictures of lab setup from part 1, data table from part 2. Okay, then you'll have an analysis question, analysis section, and in this section you will answer the questions. And then you'll have a conclusion. Your conclusion, you're going to kind of talk about, what the point of your lab, kind of like summarize your lab. You want to talk about any error you could have made. And then what you do, if you were going to do the experiment again, what would you change? And then you'll include that bonus. You can include that bonus at the end. If you have any citations, you would put that after the conclusion. Okay. So this is what your lab report would look like. Okay, and then you would have, information in each of those sections. Let's talk about the introduction. You will introduce the lab, like talk about the point of the lab, your hypothesis. You don't really need a hypothesis for part 1, but hypothesis for part 2. You can talk about the importance of watersheds. Okay, that kind of stuff will be in your introduction. Okay, and that's how your lab report should look. Obviously, yours will be in paragraph form and not in bullets. I'm just showing you in bullets the things that you should put in your lab. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to save this table. I'm going to obviously take out this information that I wrote. And then I'm going to post this in the course under user links, and I'll also post it as an attachment in the synchronous session. That way you've got it. Okay, so that's kind of how this lab will work. And remember, this is for part 2. You still have to do part 1. Okay, it's just that the part 1 is the part that you do like in person. It's not done on the computer, so it's not really easy for me to, kind of help you with it. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful. If you'll have questions, you can always email me, and if you turn in your lab early, I can grade it, and then you can get some feedback, and if you didn't do as well as you'd hoped, you can always fix it by the deadline. So that's kind of a handy thing that you can do if you turn in your lab early. Obviously, if you turn it in Wednesday night at 11:50, I can't really do much for you then. But if you turn in like Monday or something, I can usually grade it before the deadline. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful.